Rachel here, and in today's drill we're going to talk about the reach and rotate and how to unload ourselves from that reach and rotate. So our drive and our exit, okay? And we talked about a couple things. We talked about loading the muscles. We talked about weight being forward so that we can move ourselves forward, because our goal is to get ourselves past our blade. So if we get our blade into the water here, our goal is to get ourselves past the blade. A. You also want to have forward momentum, forward flex. We don't want to be sitting back here. We want to be forward. And we also want to use those big muscles. So hips, legs, glutes, obliques, and core, a little bit of our lats. Okay? We don't want to overuse our upper body. We don't want to overuse our ankles. They're more or less there for the ride, and they're for the connection. So in this drill today, we're going to be talking about how to engage those hips, or continue engaging those hips and the core after the reach and rotate to unload. So when I say load, we are priming those muscles. So we're getting them in the position so that they can power ourselves through your exercise, okay? A loaded muscle is going to be able to drive you forward or pull you forward. And in this case, so when we talk about loading, what that looks like from the body is going to be our legs are primed. If we're bending our knees, our hips are closed. We're going to be using those hips and knees to move ourselves forward. And then the loading is going to be here, and then the unloading is going to be the moving forward. The unloading is going to be the explosiveness or the power that gets us forward. So what we can do this with a partner. I actually created a way to do this without a partner. Okay. If you have a cable, you can do this at the gym, you can do this at home. You can do this with a really thick super band or heavy band if you have that, or two band. That works too. What I have here, you want something, you can practice this two ways. You can practice it with a lighter weight, and the lighter weight might help, but it's also going to, the problem with a lighter weight is it's going to leave you sitting back versus a heavier weight, something that almost you can't pull and can't do with just your upper body. So it's really hard for me to just do this with my upper body. It's okay if I fall forward for this drill. So I want to set my resistance to something heavy enough that I feel like I can barely use it with my upper body alone. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a comfortable grip. So imagine myself holding my paddle here. Okay, so if I'm holding my paddle, other side, okay, now, but holding my paddle, okay. So what I'm going to do here, this is comfortable, right? I'm not going into my catch, not pulling. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a step back, and what that does is I'm going to try to keep a safe position, so I'm not going to pull the cable yet, but I'm going to just take a step back, and what that does is that gets my upper body into a primed position, okay? So in this prime position, what I'm doing is my weight's on my toes, okay? My knees and my hips are bent and loaded, my core is loaded, okay? So if I was to put my top arm up, this would be me like in my catch, okay? So holding my paddle, my bottom hand would be down, okay? So what do I have to do without bending my arms? So if I bend my arms, I'm not going to really do anything because that weight's really hard, right? I can't really just bend my arms. What I need to do is I need to engage my lower body to drive me forward. Okay, so I'm hips. You guys see that? If I'm here, I'm doing two things. I'm driving my hips, but I'm also rotating through my core, and that's going to cause me to come forward. Okay, so I'm here, I'm coming forward. Okay, so here, forward. And it's me exploding through this loaded position here. going to try that on both sides. So I'm primed here. Imagine holding my paddle. So I'm in that position. What do I have to do to stand up? Engage my lower body. Woo. Okay? So that's what I'm working on in this drill. So I'm reached out here, have a rotate, and I'm going to unload through my hips, my glutes, hips, and obliques. Okay? Part 2 to this is if you have the attachment, you have a pole. Where's my pole? I'm going to use my paddle. This is my erg. So what I'm going to do is so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to attach this to my cable, okay? And I'm going to lower this a lot lower. So I'm going to imagine holding on to my paddle. I'm just going to make this as short as I can. So I'm holding on to my paddle here. So I'm going to get into that same position, okay? So if I was here, and I step back into my prime position, okay? And I have tension with my top arm. I'm pulling through this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to drive my hips forward, okay? Driving my hips forward, okay? So I'm going to try it on the other side so you guys can see. I'm in my prime position, pushing down, tension and tone in my arms. My legs are primed, and I'm going to engage my hips to pull me forward. Okay, so I'm going to lighten this load about halfway so that I'm now actually going to practice doing this and moving the cable, engaging through my hips. Now, if you take this to the water, what you're actually doing is you're moving your body forward, but for today's purpose, we're going to be practicing the feel. You want to get in the feel of this and your obliques doing the work. So if I'm here, how do I get my hips and my obliques to do the work? So what's moving me is my hips and obliques. And my weight is forward. Okay? So if I'm here, forward, big step up. So how do I engage my hips and obliques? Okay, for this exercise, what I'm focusing on is what this and this is doing. Legs and core. If I fall forward a little bit, that's okay. Okay? But really play around with this drill. One of my favorite ones.